Thank you. And my name is Eric Kagama, the president of the Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce, and also serving as the chair of the logistics on the Emergent Africa Forum. And welcome, I'd like to welcome Navroop Sahdev. I hope I didn't butcher it. She is the CEO.
Great.
Yeah, she is the CEO of the Digital Economist, and we're going to hear a little bit about who she is and what she's building, how some of the things she's been doing, for a bunch of years, in the tech space. She's a person that wears, several hats, very versatile, and most importantly, she's going to be the keynote speaker for us on the 20th September, and we're really absolutely looking forward to it. And I'll go straight into it. Navroop, let's get to know you a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. Wow, what an incredible honor to be part of the Emergent Africa Forum, and with its flagship event coming up in a week's time, not even. So I'm super excited, and thank you very much, Eric, for inviting me. And of course, it's a double honor to be the opening keynote speaker and set the stage for the conference for the rest of the days. So thanks again for having me. Yeah, happy to talk a little bit about my journey, and kind of what brought us to this point, and what I'm doing currently with the Digital Economist, and a whole bunch of other things, but primarily that. Yeah, where would you like to get started, Eric? Where I was born and raised, or should we talk blockchain
Absolutely.
straight?
I think it's really important, right? A lot of girls out there that I think just your journey alone, being a son and daughter, daughter of an immigrant,
Well, I am the immigrant, actually. So
yeah, okay, parents, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. So let's start
As
there.
an immigrant yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Your whole journey, your journey itself, it's really important for you to share for people in the immigrant community, to get to hear your story, and also people on the continent as well of Africa, and to get to hear that story as well. And especially, they don't get to see a lot of role models, women or girls, they don't get to see a lot of role models as accomplished as you are. So I think it's important for us to give us to also give them, share your story, how it began, and I think that would be fantastic.
Sure thing, Eric. Thank you, and you're very, very kind and very generous with your compliments. So, but it's an honor. Thank you very much. Great. Yeah. So I'm born and raised in India, and my family's still in India. And I have been in the United States for around 6 years now. And I've lived in 7 countries, including India, before this. I am currently on what is called an Einstein visa in the US. And so that has been an incredible journey as well, getting my seventh visa slash work permit here. It's quite a bit to navigate. To your point, Eric, previously, that it's not the easiest to make it, if you may, in the US. Although I have been incredibly lucky, because when I first came to the US, it was for a fellowship at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. So that was in 2015, and fast forward 6 years, here we are, and have been focused on the emerging tech space, as well as blockchain in particular, but more recently on really the convergence of technologies, which is really exciting, which is not just a technology, but what a host of technologies can do together. So that's kind of the focus at the moment. I'm an economist by trade, and I hold 3 master's degrees, one from India, 2 from Europe. And my final degrees were focused on innovation economics and the economics of IP markets. So, and that's really kind of defined what I'm currently doing, which is very much focused on building deep tech, co-building deep tech, and writing some of the seminal papers on that to guide the industry what it is to build responsible tech. And that's really in a very simple sense of the term, although of course not easy, summarizes what we do at the Digital Economist as well, right? As an advisory platform, working hand in glove with technology companies to ensure that the tech that we build, the second chance we have, compared to the development of the internet in the 90s, is built in a way that is inclusive, that is sustainable, and ensures privacy, and it doesn't become a weapon, if you may, for our future and future generations to follow. So that's very much the focus. Happy to dive in, Eric, in anything else that you find interesting.
Absolutely. And I'm really interested in, I know not too long ago before COVID, kind of set in, right? I know you've been busy, flying, from the, World Economic Forum and a bunch of other places, United Nations and what have you. And I would like to kind of I know you did an important, roundtable at the WEF, at the last WEF we were, I think it was 2019. Could you share a little bit of what you did, there?
Sure.
And then before we kind of go into some other areas.
Sure thing, yeah. So 2020, Eric, when we launched the Digital Economist at the World Economic Forum in Davos last year, and of course, it's been a COVID journey, so the years are probably all seem meshed together. But my first time at WEF was in 2019, when I was part of MIT's team, formally, informally, and had the incredible honor to be a speaker at Imagination in Action, the event that MIT does at Davos, MIT Connection Science in particular, in conjunction with Forbes and Tata. Last year it was also Global Citizen that was part of the group. But to kind of come back to the Digital Economist, you're right, we did actually a fairly big event where it started out as a closed group 30-person roundtable as our idea, and ended up being almost a 300-person event for CXOs from around the world who were in Davos, and also the startups, as well as the nonprofits, agencies that are working in conjunction with the United Nations and delivering the Sustainable Development Goals as we speak, who we also invited to share the stage with our partner organizations. And so, and to that point for this year, it was only last month, Eric, we did our annual roundtable. And that was under the theme Beyond Stakeholder Capitalism, and how we just don't have to, identify stakeholders and kind of get into who's a stakeholder and who's not when we look at the current variety and direction of capitalism, but in fact move towards shared global value. And that's a step forward from just stakeholder capitalism. So I'll pause there, and I'm happy to chat more. Some of the learnings.
Absolutely. And the whole stakeholder capitalism thing, like I've been on the website and now everybody is intrigued by it, right? And if you could just kind of shed a little bit of light on that.
Sure.
How it was conceived and what that is, and that'll be
sure.
Super. Thank you.
I will share the secret, which is where are all these things coming from? And a lot of times there's a single genesis point within our ecosystem. The Digital Economist is an entire ecosystem. We are an impact platform. We're based out of Washington, D.C. We do many things. I think we completed over a dozen initiatives as of last year. But a lot of the initiatives were birthed in our birth at the Center of Excellence in Human-Centered Digital Economy that we run, and have different working groups. It meets weekly, and that's really the brain trust, the body, that convenes, and top thinkers, professionals, and what have you, around the world, both that are very close to us, right, are part of the Digital Economist in an active capacity, but also leaders we convene from the industry, from WEF, from PwC, EY, and again, of course, as I mentioned, a whole lot of startups as well. And we really try to ensure the diversity of thinking, backgrounds, perspectives, gender, geography is there. And so specific to the event, we had...
Oh, go right ahead. I was going to say gender.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I wanted to touch on that gender thing, just
Sure.
navigating, the whole tech space, but I'll let you land on that on the last question, and then we'll touch a little bit about, kind of just navigating navigating that space, as a woman, and also a very intelligent, woman, as a matter of fact. The whole egos and all the things you have to deal with. Especially the male, like in that space.
Well, I appreciate the acknowledgement. I really do. Thank you, Eric. So I'll keep it brief. We had 40 hosts across 10 different roundtables, 4 hosts per roundtable, and the agenda is a step forward and further from what you see at forums like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. You see, what we're convening the world to do is to look beyond what is the common minimum denominator, which is let's not, screw our planet, right? For the lack of a better term. So all of that's there. Of course, there are people and organizations that are the front runners, and then they're the laggards, right? Like, traditional industries who still are not complying with sustainability standards, or just don't have clarity from a regulatory perspective, and or are in, geographies where the institutions and policies are not that strong. So that provides an opening, not just for domestic exploitation, but also for foreign exploitation, right? So we are saying we need to go over and beyond this. And so coming from the Center of Excellence, convening some of the top organizations in the world, and you saw that on the agenda, Eric, and really setting the stage for that dialogue, which is action oriented. We invited people to bring in tangible projects, what they're working on tangibly. And again, this was as much participant driven as it was host driven. So there are no speakers and listeners, but it's be very careful even of the vocabulary we use when it comes to the curation of roundtables as this. And to your other point, Eric, on navigating,
it's true. I know some of the egos you have to deal with, with especially with all the gender, with male, like in the tech space, and then being a brilliant one for, as a matter of fact, being a brilliant one. It's good because we have, the good thing, we also have Aisha Abbas, also joining. You'll get to she'll get to, engage with you, just maybe questions or something like that. Navigating the whole tech space and the whole journey, the energy, the whole, the mental endurance, right? Where do you get that from? From dad, mom? Was there something in the water? Because I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I would love to have her be a Navroop. And yeah, absolutely. And if you could just share a little bit of that before we go into something a little bit more technical, and that gives Aisha us also prepare some questions as well, as she also ventures into space, the tech space, and working on doing some amazing things. And Kelvin and Vitalis also have questions, standby. But let you kind of take it.
Sounds good. Yeah, Eric, thank you. Too kind. I really believe that the world needs a lot more female leaders and feminine leadership. And I have been on a journey to find what that means, that balance between, the planet serving all of humanity and not just a segment of it. And I guess I could go back to my childhood, talk about my triggers, but I would say that my grandfather was my inspiration, who from a very early stage encouraged us and asked us the right questions on and kind of set me on a journey both of self-discovery, but also a very 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 much of a stakeholder, if you may, for the lack of a better term, presence in the world, where it's not just for yourself, it's the larger set of problems you're solving and channeling creativity there. And that's really the key here, right? If we don't transcend the individual, then our capacity to do great things are limited. We only look out for ourselves. But if you set a goal, a mission, an agenda, if you care for something more than yourself, there you start to have the ingredients for a life well lived. So let me pause here. I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah,
and book recommendations.
absolutely. And kudos to you, honestly. I think you and I connected, a little while ago, even before COVID. And we've cultivated our relationship as just both of just admiring your work from a distance and constantly, amazed by, like the endurance, the mental endurance and the amount of, just the ingenuity and what we also want to accomplish. And that one of the reasons why, and I think, your natural fit, as a keynote, speaker is how can we let's segue a little bit into how can we leverage all these amazing things you're doing. How does that translate into impact? Let's say, I know if you're looking at India, for instance, they also have those the challenges of the rural, India also has its own challenges, similarly to, let's say, Africa, for instance. How can we leverage your amazing expertise and things that you're currently doing to, as we're post-COVID, how do you envision, what rural Africa leverage significantly with technology, emerging tech?
Your focus and your passion is the biggest assets you have. Everything else can be created. I really do believe that. And, if you have your mindset on something, and if you are committed to your learning, that is the biggest thing. And as an entrepreneur, the ability to focus is your superpower. And so I would say, if what we're doing in this community, which is much larger than, I used to say last year, and I still do, that the need was always there, right? When we set out to launch the Digital Economist at VEF, we just put a name on it. And so I really believe, this is, of course, a much larger mission. So the more density there is in networks and working together in collaborations and partnerships, in investing in each other, the faster we can get to the vision, right? And it's funny, Eric. It's such an incredible honor to be part of this esteemed group of speakers and everything that you and team have built here as well. Because we were constantly quoting this, old African saying, which says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together." And so I think there is a meeting of the minds, right from the values. And I'm reading this incredible book called "Women Who Run with the Wolves," which is all about how we need to tap into our instinctive nature. Of course, it doesn't just apply to women, but to sort of nurture that and what that means, and how our culture tells us to, sit back and don't say anything, be nice, and that is actually a hindrance in our growth as humans. and our gifts, right? Because we're too worried about what others would say. So, sharpening our senses and what we can achieve with that is marred somewhere along the lines. So I would recommend that book to any woman and any man, to be honest with you. It's a starting point if this is something that you're looking to do. I mean, I live in Hawaii every day. I'm inspired by just the amazing set of challenges we get to work with, but also all these amazing things that happen. And I would just say this and pause there. The more you master yourself, the more you're going to start to enjoy life. Yes, you will be taking harder and harder challenges, but there would be more and more people supporting your mission, and you will be doing it with a lot more happiness and joy than you realize. So the starting point and the end game is to master yourself. And so let me pause here, because I know I used to be nervous. Oh, how could I do these things when I was in my early 20s? And I just realized I'm just a lot more happier, because you need to take the plunge, and you need to follow your passions, and you need to follow your path, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And the first thing after hearing you say all those things, the first thing I want to do is I want to get the list of all the things you've read. And I just want to make sure I have my library, stock up on those things, and both for me and my daughter and all this. So that book is going to be on the must have for me as we transition out of the summer. I know I have Kelvin, standby, and I'm sure he has. He's pretty eager to ask you a question, and I'm going to let him also, kind of just also, ask you a question, and we'll go from there. But this has been an amazing, few minutes. Kelvin, question. Yeah. Okay, Kelvin disappears. But Aisha, do you have a question of us? Aisha is a practicing lawyer of Nigeria and now ventured into tech, building an amazing, product within tech. I'm wondering if you have a question, Aisha, for our keynote speaker, Navroop.
Hi, Navroop. Pleasure meeting you.
Hi, Aisha. Great meeting you as well.
I'd just like to know the author of that book you mentioned.
Yeah, so her name is Clarissa Estes, E-S-T-E-S.
Okay.
And I think originally the book is from the 1970s, but it continues to change lives.
Great, thank you. What you talked about passion, and I'd just like to know what was yours? What was your inspiration for setting up the Digital Economist?
Great question, Alicia. I think the challenges you face in the world give you the energy and the ideas and the opportunities as to what your gifts are and where you should be channeling them. And one of the big things that, working in the industry as an economist who was focused on business compared to, an economist sitting in an academic setting, I realized, A, people don't understand what economists do. B, the training, the gifts at times, the viewpoints, the skepticism, and everything that goes into, your training as an economist are not being fully used, not just by the industry, governments, but also sort of the world in general. So that kind of became my thing, right? And I don't say that lightly, because I've heard things like, oh, what are your skill sets? Like, you're not an accountant. You're, literally, I had employers saying things like, like, what skill set do you bring to the table? It's not practical, it's too theoretical. And so I've heard some really difficult things, that's pretty damning for for anyone in a leadership role. So again, I would say that don't give up. It was obviously difficult to hear things like that, but those challenges bring you closer and closer to your real path. And so everything that we're doing now stems from, again, not just education, training, learning, just the incredible honor to, be part of Harvard in the past. I'm currently a fellow at MIT Connection Science since over 3 years now, UCL Center for Blockchain Technology, so on and so forth. But that translation work that is necessary and bridging of the two worlds, academia, industry, but not only, right? And there's a public sector as well. And so all of those things kind of came together. And I don't know if it would be, we probably wouldn't go too much in details on that, but I kind of had a fairly, I guess you could call it a spiritual experience, for the lack of a better term. But I had a little bit of an epiphany a couple of years ago. And I remember I spent all weekend writing just a whole lot of ideas. I had a creative burst of energy, and I think I wrote 30 pages of ideas. So depending on your vocabulary, you can call it what you prefer, but a lot of the things stemmed from that. And it was that moment when I realized that everything that is needed to succeed, to build things, to, again, whatever you're looking for, exists already. And my sort of insight was that it stems from the people that I've gathered around me, the relationships that I've earned, and that became, that's really started me on this journey of like full-time entrepreneurship. Of course, I've been very active throughout. Even as a child, I was very busy. Yeah, so I'll pause here. There's what we call the immediate factors, but then the long-term ones.
Awesome. And I have someone, our head of communication, Jiraji, who happens to be in Nigeria. We operate in a decentralized way, and I think I'm just going to let someone also that is in Nigeria and Africa. What are the things I'm sure he has a few questions he wants to ask. There are a lot of challenges, like in Africa, just like some continents, a lot of things that with your ancestral, like a continent or country, India. I just want to give him the opportunity to ask.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Navroop. I'm currently joining you from northern Nigeria, West Africa. Basically, the number of the participation of women is very low. So I want to ask you, what do you think Africa needs to do, or the chamber needs to do, to accelerate the participation of women in technology?
Yeah, that's a great question, Georgie. It comes from, I want to call it an inspiration or a hook or what have you, right? Of course, you can talk about education. We can talk about, what kind of the long-term journey there is, which is kind of usually the case. But, I'm very interested in what causes a kind of a quick sort of change and transformation, right? What could become the immediate trigger? And I think that is always when there is something that inspires you and sets you on your hero's journey. So really, to what Eric was saying previously, is the fastest way that I know of, which is to have role models, to have people to look up to. And honestly, these don't necessarily need to be alive in many ways. and let me explain what I mean by that. When I was a teenager, I didn't have mentors around me. I had books that I was reading, and there's one book I remember. It was called it was on neurolinguistic programming, and really understanding how the human mind works, and it just blew my mind. when I start to understand, both the powers as well as the biases of the human mind. And so, books can fill the gap to some degree, but almost certainly at some point you want to be surrounded by people who are in it with you, right? And that's something you earn in life over time. So, I think it's a mix of both. Is finding those role models. I would say, of course, don't give up. To your question, Jiraji, what is needed for women? The more, and what you're doing is great. You're taking these stories from around the world and you're putting it in front of young people, and you're saying, look, this can be you. I had no special privilege or gifts more than you do, right? As I said, everything can be built, everything can be developed, except your intrinsic motivation, right? Except your passion, and that really comes from inside. And I know there's a lot of talent. We ensure diversity when we do programs, and like the entrepreneur training program, like the summit that I talked about earlier. Want to make sure at least there's 50% women. When we launched in Davos, more than 50% of our council members were women, and still consistently is the case. So, when you are in a decision-making role, you can call the shots. That is a time to, build the world that you want to see. And don't give up that power. Don't give away that power. When you have that power, utilize it, right? And put it in the right place, and do the right thing that you feel aligned with. And that's really important. That starts to shift the landscape before you know it. So let me pause here. And of course, I have a lot more to say on that, and a long list of books, Eric, for yourself.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jiraji.
Thank you, Jiraji. Jiraji has been extraordinary to the chamber and also to the EAF, and I, Vitalis Tita, the chair, can attest to that. What we here in the chamber we're trying to do is to lead by example, to have an immersive way of grooming leadership, like in Africa. Just like I remember one of the programs we had, there's a gentleman from Africa that was made the list as well, which is, it shows, the mindset, that you have. You're not really looking, it doesn't have to be about India just because you're from India, right? I was the same thing, like within the chamber here, we define Africa, we say scientifically, as a cradle of civilization. We work with allies, people that can add value to us, and we can add value to them as well. And there's no greater way to magnify that and also illustrate that than having you keynote for us. And also what you're doing is has the value of it alone is going to be immense in terms of what potentially it can add, to people on the continent. If you could just share what we should expect, in your keynote, that would be fantastic.
Sure, yeah. And I would just say that, Eric, to your point, people fight on, I'm from here, I'm from there. We all are from Africa. And that's where we all came from, right? And so we need to remember that it's such a rich continent. And I think it's a little bit of that hijacking, and I wouldn't hold back saying that, right? It's the legacy of colonialism and all that, which is shared with India as well, that has caused us to be where we are. And there's some stories, like, we are the privileged few, right? You're in US area, and so am I, and so we are the privileged few, but there are millions and hundreds of millions that we need to look out for, and who never have access to the kind of opportunities that we do. And I think what needs to happen is, again, we need to find these local heroes, celebrate them, and do what we can from our side to support that as well. So rather than just being closed off, rich economies being closed off until you physically make it here, we need to reform. Like, we're fighting from the inside, if you see what I'm saying. I've sat in WTO discussions on questions related to trade. For those of us who come from the part of the world that is often discriminated against, we need to fight, right, and not just comply simply because, oh, we made it, right? And that is really important. And that's also a good segue into what I will be talking about in the keynote address in the summit next week. And that's really focused on what, after all, humanity has to look out for, and what, at the end of the day, technology, which is what we're all excited about because it gives us a way to create impact at scale, needs to serve. And that is the human outcomes, right? And by human outcomes, I mean taking care of the planet, of other species, and really the what we share with the rest of the species as well. And I think that is the core and the essence of why we're doing what we're doing. And we should not forget that. There is a real problem currently. The UN General Assembly is this week, by the way, and the events are going to continue next week as well. The New York Climate Week is next week, so it's a very good time to align with the global agenda. The UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, is coming up in November in Glasgow, and then of course the World Economic Forum in Davos. And there's a shift with COVID, the kind of momentum that we're seeing, both in terms of not just commitments, but also the capital that's moving towards, climate tech, green tech, sustainability, building better tech, AI or blockchain or IoT, and inclusion. That is the main thing. So it's great timing. And I would say anyone who's in the space or wants to be in this space, and students and young entrepreneurs who are listening to this right now, you need to be ready, so if you're not in there right now, so you're ready when the time comes for you to serve, that you are already fully plugged into what's happening in the world. So that's the main thing. And I hope that the keynote address is an inspiration for you, and something that you can contemplate on and triggers you on your hero's journey. And I think that's the greatest gift you can give to anyone. That's the greatest way to give back, right? Which is not just, you can't walk in anyone's shoes, but you can inspire them and light a flame to follow your own unique path. So I hope to do that, Harry.
Absolutely, this is amazing. I wish we could go on and on, but we're going to save the best part for the 20th. And I as we speak, as you and I and others are here, converging here, we're inspired and really looking forward to you just adding value to our lives in terms of what you're going to share with us, and the work you've put into both research and kind of constantly advocating, not just for yourself, but on gender, on climate related issues. I know Salisu is also someone that is really within, is also a researcher, like in Aberdeen, and also in the blockchain space, and also involved in the whole issue around climate, change and what have you. Those are things that hopefully, as we continue to engage one another, able to bring in, leverage one another's, capacities, we're going to see all those things, accelerated. As we say here in the chamber, we're in the business of other people's business, and also, we're in the we call our type of advocacy as a service, right? And is entirely about what can we do for community? What can we do for just how can we leverage ourselves significantly more to help others, that are really because of all the different types of challenges, that are dealing with different types of challenges, both on the continent and even the diaspora countries like Suriname and a bunch of other places where we feel we can add, the chamber can add, significant value to people that are whose economic situation has been pretty, they've been excluded from the whole financial economy of those countries, and we feel technology would play an important, a key role. And before we finish, the EAF, podcast, I'll allow Salisu and Joy and others, if they have any questions, and even Vital is the chair of the EAF, to also ask some questions, and then we'll let you kind of rest and then get our ears and everything prepared for the 20th, where you're going to keynote. And starting with Vitalis Tita. Vitalis, I know I'm on your, I wish you were here as well, but you're on camera and all that, but nevertheless, any question for our keynote speaker, Navroop?
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it's great just sitting here watching you doing an amazing job with Navroop, a wonderful, brilliant lady. I'm inspired by everything you've talked about, ma'am. And like you, Eric, I have one daughter, and I'm committed to making sure that I do my part as a parent to provide her the tools to be able to live her purpose. And you touch on those things about how we can inspire the girl child to believe in themselves. And you said the key ingredient here is to be able to understand who you are and invest in developing yourself. And you are a prime example of that. You live in it, right? So we see that in you, and I think it's a great inspiration. And so this definitely is going to be a draw for so many women. I believe Madam Aisha is here and is going to be part of that Women in Tech discussion. And she herself is developing something amazing. And so it's just beautiful to see that in this space, women are taking the lead. And that is a great inspiration for our daughters, right? Especially on the continent, coming from the background where culture has completely buried you even before you started living. And culture has completely stripped you of any, self-esteem or ability to believe in yourself to begin with. And so you are the hope and the light of the world. I must say that, man. And thank you so much for what you're doing and what you're bringing here on our platform at the ACOFDC, and especially on this EAF event. We're so excited and elated to have you there. So that will be my comment for now. I have so many questions, but I know that it's going to bring out the best that's supposed to be showcased at that event. So I'm going to just save it. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. And I'm going to give the ladies in the room, ladies, both Aisha, Abbas, and Joy, the opportunity. Already people are saying, hey, this is beginning to look like Beijing, because, we're honored to have also the Minister of, Women Affairs, confirmed, speaker. So we're pretty excited, Aisha's going to be at the UN UNGA 76, and, and also going to be part of, the Emergent Africa Forum as well. And I would like to start with Aisha. She has a question, and then we'll go to Joy, and then we can now allow you go get some rest, And Aisha, your question, please. Go ahead.
I have a smile on my face watching everything. Navroop has been pretty articulate, and I simply look forward to hearing her speak. Yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. Joy Odieka, one of our volunteers, very versatile. She's the CEO of, Zucchini, woman, woman power, doing amazing things out of Lagos, Nigeria. She's her background is in IT, and she has an ICT company, Zucchini, and volunteered, and also works with a very formidable company in Nigeria as well. Joy, if you could just say hi, and also if you have a question before we wrap this up. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm very, very excited to hear you speak, and looking forward to more. It gives me a lot of encouragement to see women that are really doing a lot of things, amazing things, exploits, and so on and so forth. And it strengthens me, encourages me that even if we are in Africa, where we have a lot of disadvantages, and then being a female also, so many challenges. But when I see women like you excelling, it gives me hope that I can actually do better. I am excited to see you. And when I also saw that Aisha has confirmed, 2 women are keynote speakers, it's a wonderful thing. And I pray it will be very, very encouraging and exciting. So thank you for coming. I'll reserve my questions till much later, like Aisha
Absolutely.
said.
And you can see we're already lobbying to be on that, our next World Economic Forum, Navroop, we're really lobbying. We have two women, as keynote speakers. So hey, that should give us, I think we should get an invite, to the next roundtable, right? Hopefully we get that exquisite invite. But Navroop, I think, jokes aside, you continue to be extraordinary, continue to elevate, and encourage and just do what you do. That comes, those things that come naturally to you. And with you, it's not, it's an allyship that it's not disguised with any kind of agenda. It's absolutely selfless, and we've seen you, trying to give, illuminate some of us, even when you don't even supposed to. And I continue to thank you immensely, and we're looking forward to having you, speak, like on the 20th as our keynote speaker. So on behalf of, chair, the chairman of the Emergent Africa 21, and also
Every time I want to say what.
available. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Salisu, say hello.
Okay, Salisu, you can go ahead. Sorry, and I thought you weren't going to. Okay, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one of our co-founders, Salisu Uba, and also, a researcher, is in the block, on the supply chain side, and also researching on blockchain in Aberdeen, the UK, and newly a father of a brand new baby, and if you can take a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you again, Salisu.
Thank you very much, Eric, and good evening, everyone. It's quite a pleasure to meet you again, Navroop. I think we met last time during Digital Economist events, and I can really confirm that we have had the best of keynote speaker that we could ever think of, and I look forward to, all the, insight and knowledge and, experience that we can get from your keynote address. And I must say this, that really the platform is all about getting people involved, passing the information, getting the right information to the right people. And I believe the Emerging African Forum is going to be an avenue that we can leverage on so many things with the likes of your experience and the platform you have. I can say we are, quite much privileged to have that. And I look forward to, seeing you or meeting you on that very day. Thank you.
Thank you, Salisu. Awesome. Yeah. And on that note, like we're looking forward to 2022. Minneapolis, big convention center. We're hoping Navroop is going to be on the ground as well. The Aishas, the Joys, and a bunch of women that are doing incredible things within the tech space, and just people in the rural areas as well. We intend to impact, we intend to impact lives, with what we call the relationships we've cultivated. We're going to cultivate during the EAF and other things that we feel we can add value significantly in rural India, rural Africa, and what have you. So on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank you and see you on the 20th. And thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. I just want to add that you know, your kind words encourage me, and it provides that positive feedback to keep going. So we all, you know, empower and uplift each other. So everything that you said, Eric, Vitalis, Joy, Alicia, and Kevin, and I think it's just been yeah, it's a great start of the week for me. More power and energy to keep going. You know, it's Monday morning in Hawaii, and I can't wait for the summit next week. And if there's any way that I can be of help and support, I'm here to support unconditionally. And I think you know, at the end of the day, it's not about the tech you build; it's the relationships and the lives you touch. And so I really do believe that. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone who's listening, who's watching this, and this week, also next week, and you know, whatever we can do to support your journey, we will do that. So thank you again, and I'm really looking forward. And just a remarkable platform, Eric, congratulations to you and the team. The fact that you're choosing female leaders for your keynotes when you could have not, that goes you know, a long distance, and that says a lot on just you know, how much you're doing to uplift others. And I think that really is the true meaning of leadership. So let me pause here. I have a lot more to say, but I can't wait to see everyone next week.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to it as well. Chia, you know, Salisu, Joy, Kevin, Aisha, a big wave. Thank you, and see you on the social. A lot of
yeah. Thank you, Eric.
This one out, you know, hot out of
Yeah.
what do they say? This Vitalis, help me out there. What do they say? We're going to churn it out soon. We're going to send it out there, right? Hot and serve it out there.
Oh yeah.
On the
You said it.
So thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Awesome.
Thank you, Navroop. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.